think this might be the 47th or 48th video of Old Guys, Gentlemen Flippers. This will be kind of a short one, and I wanted to review for you the progress I've been making on doing an acid stonewash on some of my knife blades. One of the problems I've had is if I'm a little careless with the knives, I'll get a scratch in it, and to remove the scratch, and I know a lot of people say, hey, live with the scratch, but while I'll always carry my knives and use my knives, they have very light use, and I just don't like the look of the scratch. So a lot of times it means refinishing the blade to get rid of the scratch if you can't rub it out with some steel wool or some fine sandpaper. The ultimate knife I'm going to work on, because right now it's all been practice, is a custom knife factory knife that I cut something that scuffed the sides, and then I did some rubbing of the blade with some different materials, and I ended up getting the scratches out, but I ended up putting more of a polish on the blade that I like, and it was a stone-washed knife, and so I'm kind of getting prepared for working on that. So in any case, so I have a few Chinese clones which are great for experimenting on, and that's what I did here. And I'll tell you what I did. And I'm not an expert. Most of the stuff that I've done here I've learned by just watching all the YouTube videos and all this stuff. So this is just one more YouTube video, but this one's by a guy who barely knows what he's doing. So first thing I did is I bought some ferric chloride, and I actually got this mistakenly thinking I could etch titanium with it for doing some anodization, but it doesn't work so well for that, so it's sitting here, but it works great for etching steel. Carbon steel does real fast and relatively fast on stainless steel. I used these are polypropylene containers here that I use for the most part for when I was doing the anodization stuff, or sometimes what I'll do is I'll keep water in here dedicated to each one of the Casera stones. But in this particular case, I used about half water and half ferric chloride. On YouTube videos, you'll see using deionized water. Sometimes they'll use deionized water and vinegar in this. And all I can say is that just this with regular water, 50-50, works great. It'll etch your steel, and I suppose they're all different, but they all seem to etch pretty quickly. So what I do, the first time I did it, I had a, this is a really bad Chinese knife, and this was actually, let's see if you can see, this actually had like a gold plating on it. Not real gold, but it was some sort of coloring. So just as an experiment, I sanded one side down. Let me see if I can figure out which one. I think this might be the side I sanded down. And then put it in there, and it etched one side, did not etch the other side much at all. And it was actually a pretty dark etching job on it. And then what I did is I put it in this rock tumbler. I didn't use any of the medium that they sell, and instead I used rocks from outside. And I think you're only supposed to use round rocks, and I used kind of a combination. I haven't done experimenting to find out why these are a bad thing. I do know I was getting too fine of a pattern just using these, and so I did go to the larger rocks. The other thing I learned is that it's still pretty fine pattern, even with all that stuff. With this kind of setup, is if you shake this before or after, it'll put long scratches in there, maybe longer than you want. In fact, when I had done it, I got some scratches that were like a 1/4 inch long or something like that. So I put it back in here, and the scratch remained, but I put enough other stuff around it that you wouldn't notice it anymore. So, hold this still here. Something was going on here. That's a fake Shirogoro. Oh, this is the plated side. So all this one saw was the Stonewash. So that's probably some that plating that came off late. This is the side that I sanded ahead of time. And it's not that bad of a finish. This is just a stone up here. I did not protect this area at all, and so if I were to use this knife, and I'm not because the rest of the knife is crap, I'd end up polishing this track and polishing the bearing areas. So with that knowledge in place, I went ahead and I pulled, this is another Chinese clone of a neon. And this one I did end up protecting the sides. You can see a little bit of the longer scratches in there over in this area, but they're not bad. In fact, I kind of like the way this turned out. And what this was, oh, I forgot another thing. The first time I put this thing in the bath, I thought, oh, I got zip ties over here, I'll just use these. I didn't really check compatibility stuff. When I came back, the zip tie was laying off to the side, and I eventually looked it up, and they said that there's like no compatibility at all. It just eats it right up. But I did check the polypropylene. I also wear these nitrile gloves. I have an acid apron, which I didn't wear for this. I probably should. I also have a face shield, which is another thing I should wear, but I didn't. Because I've seen people in the videos actually stick their fingers in this. I wouldn't recommend doing that too long. But anyhow, I put it in there, and I used some floss, just some ordinary dental floss, tied around the end, and it worked great. Within a few minutes, and what I do is I move it around a little bit, flip it over, move it around a little bit. Within a few minutes, it already had a nice etch on it. I'm not sure what happens when you leave it in there for a long time. I assume it just keeps eating away at the material. So I think I left it in there for maybe a total of 6, 7, 8 minutes, going back and forth. That's what I did with this one. And then put it in here and ran this for maybe about a half an hour. And I think what I noticed is that the longer you run it, the finer that it gets, that the less defined random structure you get to the look of the thing. Now I've not sharpened this yet. In fact, I haven't really looked at the edge. Okay, so the edge is a little mucked up. So when I've seen some people take nail polish and run it along the edge. That might have worked. But then you might get some weird uneven stuff here. You'd have to be really careful how you put on there. But I can sharpen all that out. That is interesting. The other thing is I've also ordered the bowl that shakes. I don't know what the return policy is. These things are relatively cheap. I just got this weekend from Harbor Freight, and there was a sale going on, and I think it was like 35 bucks, and the tumbler's just a little bit more. But except for maybe a little bit of that chipping that I'm going to have to fix, that turned out really nice. And actually for this thing, the contrast of the blue anodization, which I should probably, the vendor did this over in China, and they didn't do a very good job. But I know how to do this stuff. I could sand this off, get a more smoother finish on this thing, and anodize it myself. That turned out pretty well, I think.